All right, today we're jumping into a really big, really fascinating idea, the noosphere. What is it? Well, it's been called the planet's thinking layer.
So let's just kick things off with a massive question. What if all of our collective thoughts, our cultures, our technologies, what if all of that is actually forming a new geological shell around the Earth? A layer that's just as real, just as powerful as the ground we walk on or the atmosphere we breathe. Sounds a little out there, right? Well, let's get into it.
So to really wrap our heads around this, we have to start with a name for it, the noosphere. This term, it actually comes from the 1920s, from a philosopher named Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. He took the Greek word nous, which means mind or intellect, and smashed it together with sphere. So yeah, we're literally talking about the mind sphere.
And here's the bottom line. The noosphere is this global web of human thought. But it's not just some abstract philosophical concept. It's seen as a tangible force. It's made up of all our ideas, our cultures, and every piece of technology that comes from them. And it is fundamentally changing our planet.
Now, to really get why the noosphere is such a big deal, we gotta look at what it's built on. We need to understand the layers that came first.
It all starts with the geosphere. This is the planet itself. The rock, the water, the air. Think about mountains being pushed up over eons, rivers carving out canyons, continents just drifting. It's a world of raw power, but man, is it slow. We're talking geological time here.
And then, layered right on top of all that rock and water, life happens. The biosphere bursts onto the scene. And this living shell, it plays by a whole new set of rules: evolution, predation, cooperation. Life takes the raw stuff from the geosphere and just hits the fast-forward button on change.
Okay, this is where it all clicks into place, right? This table lays it out so clearly. Each sphere has its own stuff and its own actions. For the geosphere, you've got mountains, and the action is erosion. For the biosphere, you've got species, and the action is evolution. But then, look at the noosphere. Its objects are ideas and technologies. Its actions are thought and communication. This shows you that an idea can be just as real, as powerful, as world-shaping as a mountain range or an entire ecosystem.
And that brings us to the main event. The moment this third layer didn't just appear, it was totally unleashed.
Check out this concept from our source material. It's called new migration. So the biosphere moves atoms around slowly, right? Think of a coral reef building itself out of calcium in the ocean. That's biomigration. But what we do, that's new migration. We move atoms around with our minds. We literally think, I want iron from that mountain, and we build machines to go get it, build cities with it. We are physically rearranging the planet at an industrial scale, all powered by thought.
And that's the real game changer here: speed. The noosphere operates at the speed of thought. An idea can flash around the world in an instant and lead to real, physical change almost overnight. That kind of pace just absolutely dwarfs the slow, plodding speed of evolution and geology. It's not even a contest.
But, it's not all smooth sailing. Just like the biosphere has predators and diseases, the noosphere has its own dark side. And this is where our story takes a really critical turn, into the idea of parasites of thought. Just think about it for a second. In the natural world, a parasite is something that weakens its host, right? It drains its energy and its vitality. So the huge question the source material poses is this: are there things just like that in the mind sphere? Are there ideas or systems that actually feed on and obstruct the health and freedom of human thought itself?
And there's a name for this phenomenon: noetic parasitism. It's defined as any structure, any pattern, whether it's social, political, or ideological, that gets in the way of the mind's ability to be healthy, to grow, and most importantly, to be free.
So what does a thought parasite actually look like in the real world? Well, the clearest, most timeless example is tyranny. It's that raw, primal drive some people have to control what other people are allowed to think, what they can say, what they can even feel. It's a pattern we've seen again and again throughout history.
Now, to get really specific, the source text lays out several examples of what it considers to be these parasitic forces. And just to be clear, we're pulling these directly from the source to show you the kind of things it's talking about. The list includes things like enforced consensus, where you're not really allowed to question the dominant idea in, say, science or politics. It also points to modern things like shadow banning on social media. And it also includes concepts like usury, falsified history, and what it calls victim complex narcissism. So it's a really broad range of examples.
Okay, so this brings us right up to today. Because if these parasitic ideas have been around forever,
Why is it such a critical issue right now? What makes the 21st century so different?
And the answer, in one word, is technology. The core argument here is that our modern digital tools are like a supercharger for these ancient tyrannical impulses. They give them a level of power, a kind of leverage, that was just unimaginable in the past.
So how does that actually work? Well, you can think of it as a stack. It starts with global, instant communication. Then you layer social media on top of that to act as a massive megaphone. Then artificial intelligence can be used to aim that megaphone with incredible precision. And finally, things like digital finance and centralized infrastructure can be used to enforce control. You see how each piece builds on the last? It creates this incredibly powerful system. And this simple chart just says it all. In the past, a tyrannical idea, a parasitic idea, might infect a town or maybe even a nation. But today, the potential reach is the entire planet. The scale of the threat to our mental freedom has grown exponentially. So, where does all this leave us? The conclusion from the source is pretty clear. We're at a crossroads. It argues that we have to wake up and start consciously designing new systems, new technologies, new rules for our society that have one explicit goal: to protect and safeguard the freedom of the human mind in this new global noosphere. And that really is the final crucial question for all of us, isn't it? As our world gets more and more connected, and as our technology gets more and more powerful, how do we make sure this incredible thinking layer of our planet is a place of freedom and creativity, and not a place of control? How do we, you and I, protect the freedom of the mind?